This is the CBS Radio Network.
And this is KNX, AM and FM, Curious Radio, Los Angeles.
From Kraft comes a new kind of safflower oil margarine. Light, new, miracle safflower oil margarine. Made from 100% safflower oil and lightly whipped to give you 6 delicious cubes per pound. Although a pound still weighs a pound, every pat of new miracle safflower oil margarine is lighter. Actually 1/3 lighter than regular margarine. The texture is more delicate for smoother spreading. And this light new miracle, whipped from 100% safflower oil, gives you important nutritional benefits. And calories? Same per pound as regular margarines, but 12 less per pat with light new miracle safflower oil margarine from Kraft. Kraft also brings you a new salad and cooking oil. New miracle safflower oil for your frying, baking, and salad making.
I got one product I got to tell you about quickly, which is glass wax for cleaning your windows. This is the same product that I had the honor and privilege of introducing to you 16 years ago on this show. It is now improved. They have a formula now which not only dissolves the dirt, even the greasiest dirt, but also absorbs it, so that when you wipe it off with a soft cloth, the window is sparkling clean and polished. You're silly if you do your windows in the old-fashioned way. This is so easy. Get glass wax, apply it properly, which is thinly and sparingly with a damp sponge, and wipe it off with a dry cloth. And I'm going to call on the vocalists in New York, if I may now, gentlemen, for a moment. Got a lovely little gal up there named Carol Sloan, who has a tune called Hallelujah, I Love 'Em So.
Let me tell you about a boy I know. He is my baby and he lives next door. Every morning before the sun comes up, he brings my coffee in my favorite cup. That's why I know, yes I know, hallelujah, I love him so. When I'm in trouble and I have no friend, I know he'll go with me until the end. Everybody says that, how do you know? I smile and say, well, he told me so. That's why I know, yes, baby, I know, hallelujah, I love him so. When I call him on the telephone, I say, baby, I'm all alone. By the time I count from 1 to 4, I hear him on my door. In the evening when the sun goes down, when there is nobody else around, he kisses me, he holds me tight, and he says, baby, everything is alright. That's why I know, yes I know, hallelujah, how I love him so. Me on the telephone, I say, baby, I'm so alone. By the time I count from 1 to 4, there he is at my door. In the evening when the sun goes down, when there is nobody else around, he kisses me, he holds me tight, and he says, baby, everything is so cool. That's why I know, yes I know, hallelujah, I love him so. Hallelujah, how I love him so. Hallelujah, how I love him so.
Yeah. Carol Sloan. You know she gets prettier all the time, too. Oh, when you know that this girl is going to appear in a nightclub anywhere near you, don't you fail to go catch her. She is a delightful evening's entertainment.
Any time you can get to her. Boy, is she good. He stands there and sings for about 45 minutes, and you are never more delighted. That's Carol Sloane. Well, now, look, isn't it a coincidence? General Development has a little something for me to talk about this morning. And they don't want me to talk about Port Charlotte today, which I usually do, but they want to talk about Port St. Lucie Country Club. You seen that?
Yes, sir. I was there for the opening.
Isn't that beautiful?
And brother, did they have the folks?
Yeah.
They came from behind every palm in Florida. I never saw so many people in my life.
You seen it, Gabe?
No, I haven't. It's a real nice lake.
Well, it's up there at the confluence of the Lucie and the Indian Rivers, isn't it?
Well, I'm sure that's
Is that about it?
correct.
Right there at the...
Right on a point.
On a point where it goes into the ocean.
Right.
So for a yachtsman, fisherman, it's a paradise. If the weather is nasty out in the ocean, he's got a terrific bay and two rivers to fish in, and of course the farther up the river he goes, the more different kinds of fish. Until I'm quite sure you can get into bass country. But the thing is that the place has, it's about 50 miles north of Palm Beach.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if you can even buy anything up there anymore. I guess you can, of course. You can always buy something. But you want a vacation, I recommend this Port St. Lucie Country Club. You can play on two beautiful 18-hole golf courses, enjoy the facilities of one of the most beautiful dining facilities I've ever seen, a clubhouse, just gorgeous, swimming pool, kids' playgrounds, and a marina, which is really a marina. In fact, you sit in the dining room, and you look out the picture windows on one side, you're overlooking this gorgeous golf course, and on the other side is the swimming pool and the marina. Heated to 2 times at once. And if you like, you can live in your own furnished home, 1, 2, or 3 bedrooms. Complete hotel service, linen, silverware, TV, cooking facilities. If you want to cook instead of using the dining facilities of the country club. And you know what? You can play golf every day. There are very few days in the year in Florida, southern Florida, when you can't play golf. Those days would be the very few in the rainy season when it really rains hard. Right? Good. And most of the time you can play.
Here is a news alert bulletin from the KNX Radio News Bureau. President Kennedy was shot today, just as his motorcade left downtown Dallas. Mrs. Kennedy jumped up and grabbed Mr. Kennedy. She cried, "Oh no!" The motorcade kept going. Mrs. Kennedy was in the car with the president. Repeating, President Kennedy was shot today, just as his motorcade left downtown Dallas, Texas. Further details as they are available in the KNX News Bureau.
Yeah, he's got the hotel now. The other day, the Minute Maid people gave me a beautiful watch, and thank heaven they autographed it to me and inscribed the back case, or he'd have that. But he has this hotel now.
Here's further detail on the News Alert Bulletin broadcast just a few moments ago on KNX Radio. This is Dick Wall reporting. President Kennedy has been gunned down by an assassin's bullets. The chief executive apparently was struck by 2 bullets. Texas Governor John Connally also was hit by at least 1 bullet. Both the president and the governor are confined now to Parkland Hospital in Dallas. The condition of the governor and the president is not determined to this moment. 2 shots at least were heard. One Secret Service man said he heard 3 shots fired. The president fell limp into Mrs. Kennedy's arms. The president's wife cried out, "Oh no," when the shots occurred. The president was in Dallas on a 3-day speech-making trip. Both he and the governor were taken to the same hospital. The president had spoken this morning in Fort Worth and then flew to Dallas following that speech. He was to deliver a speech during a motorcade through the city. Newsmen some 5 car lengths behind the president's car heard what sounded like 3 bursts of gunfire. Secret Service agents in the car following the president quickly pulled out automatic rifles. The bubble of the president's car was down when the shots rang out. Mr. Kennedy slumped over in the back seat, face down. Connally lay on the floor of the rear seat. Wounds in the governor's chest were clearly visible. Associated Press reporter Jack Bell asked Kenneth O'Connell, presidential assistant, if Kennedy was dead. He got no answer. Kennedy was reported taken to Parkland Hospital near the Dallas trademark where he was to have made a speech. AP reporter Bell said Kennedy was transferred to an ambulance. He lay on a seat of the car and blood stained his clothing. Bell reported 3 shots were fired as the motorcade entered the triple underpass, which leads to the Stemmons Freeway route to Parkland Hospital. Pandemonium immediately broke loose around the scene. The Secret Service waved the motorcade on at top speed to the hospital. Even at high speed, it took nearly 5 minutes to get the car to the ambulance entrance of the hospital. Reporters saw the president lying flat on his face on the seat of his car. AP reporter Bell said a man and a woman were scrambling on the upper level of a walkway overlooking the underpass. Lawrence O'Brien, the presidential aide, said he had no information on whether the president still was alive. Mrs. Kennedy was weeping and trying to hold up her husband's head when reporters reached the car. President Kennedy and Texas Governor John Connally now are at Parkland Hospital in Dallas. There has been no report so far on their condition. Both men were wounded by an assassin's bullets as the president's car, in which Connally and Mrs. Kennedy were also riding, passed under a triple underpass on the way for Mr. Kennedy to make a speech in Dallas. He had spoken earlier this morning in Fort Worth, Texas, then flew on to Dallas, where he was scheduled to deliver a hard-hitting speech. Here's more detail. The wounds indicated an automatic weapon was used in the shooting. 3 loud bursts of gunfire were heard before the president and governor fell. In the turmoil, it was impossible to determine whether Secret Service agents and Dallas police returned the fire. It couldn't be immediately determined either whether Mrs. Kennedy or Mrs. Connally were wounded. Both men were in the car with the president and the governor and were crushed down over the inert forms of their husbands as the big car raced toward the hospital. Mrs. Kennedy could be seen on the floor of the rear seat with her head toward the president. Associated Press reporter Jack Bell asked Kenneth O'Donnell, the presidential assistant, if the president were dead. O'Donnell gave him no answer.
That's the latest from one of our team of correspondents with the presidential party in Dallas. We will be getting additional details from minute to minute as we continue here. The shooting took place at 1:45 Eastern Time. That was just about a little over 10 minutes ago. President Kennedy apparently was shot in the head. He fell face down in the back seat of his car, and there was blood on his head. Mrs. Kennedy, riding in the car with him, shouted, "Oh no," and tried to hold up her husband's head. Riding in the same car were Governor Connally and Mrs. Connally. Governor Connally also was hit. We have no information on how seriously either man has been hurt. Connally remained half-seated, but slumped to the left when he was shot. There was blood on his face and forehead. Both the president and the governor were rushed to Parkland Hospital near the Dallas trademark, where President Kennedy was to have made a speech today. As you know, this was the middle day of his 3-day tour of Texas. He spoke in Texas last night. He arrived in Dallas only a short while ago, was to make a speech at the trademark there in a short while, and then go on to the state capital of Austin for a reception and a fundraising dinner this evening. The shooting took place within minutes after the presidential party arrived in Dallas. There are no details on just how it occurred. Secret Service men and Dallas police, as we have heard from correspondent Weather, have one building surrounded where they think the would-be assassins may have been located. Some of the Secret Service agents thought the gunfire they heard was from an automatic weapon fired to the right rear of the chief executive's car, probably from the grassy knoll to which motorcycle policemen directed their attention as they raced up the slope. And a late word, Texas Congressman Albert Thomas says he has been informed that both President Kennedy and Governor Connally are still alive after having been shot in an assassination attempt. That is the first word we have had to that effect. Congressman Thomas says he has been informed that President Kennedy and Governor Connally are both still alive after the shooting attempt a short while ago. Thomas, standing outside the corridor of the emergency room in which both the President and Connally are under treatment, said he has been told the President is still alive, but he is in a very critical condition.
President Kennedy is in a very critical condition after the attempted assassination in Dallas, Texas, less than a quarter of an hour ago. The security police have the one building surrounded where, according to one report, the assassins may have been planning their ambush. There's one other report that a man and a woman were seen on a grassy knoll overlooking the motorcade route, and that perhaps that was the ambush spot. Details are still scarce. The situation was a turmoil, as would be understandable. Immediately after the shooting took place, when the president was taken into the emergency room, a call was sent out immediately for some of the top surgical specialists in Dallas. As we mentioned a moment ago, the president was shot in the head. He fell back in his car, and blood could be seen on his head. And a call was also sent out for a Roman Catholic priest. This is a standard procedure in serious operations of this type, and is not to be taken as indicating the expected fate of the president yet. Our last report was that he and the governor are both still alive in the hospital emergency room after the shooting. The call has gone out for surgical specialists to treat the governor and the president. Congressman Jim Wright of Fort Worth says that both men were seriously wounded in the shooting, but that they are alive. Vice President Lyndon Johnson was in a car behind the president. There is no immediate indication that he was hurt. In fact, there's no indication at all of what might have happened to Johnson, since only the president's car and its Secret Service follow-up car went to the hospital in the initial drive. So there we have the situation as it exists at the present time. Assassins attempted to shoot and kill the President of the United States and the Governor of Texas a short while ago as the presidential motorcade drove through downtown Dallas shortly after the presidential party arrived in that city. The President and his wife and the Governor and his wife were both riding in the same car, the lead limousine of their motorcade, going to the Dallas Trade Mart where the President was to have made a speech, beginning in just a few minutes from now. So this situation has dramatically brought the news. The president is in critical condition, seriously wounded, and so is the governor. Both men are alive and being given treatment in the emergency ward of the Parkland Hospital in Dallas. And we are awaiting further details and further information on the condition of the men and on the possible apprehension of the would-be assassins. We have had two reports that Secret Service men are surrounding a building where it is believed the would-be assassins are holed up on the 5th floor. There was another report that a man and a woman were spotted on a grassy knoll overlooking the parade route, and that motorcycle policemen who were escorting the motorcade at that time quickly got off of their bikes and scurried up this route and went after two persons who apparently were hiding in the bushes. We have a further report from another one of our correspondents in the area. Let's go now to news correspondent Nelson Benton at the hospital.
A few moments ago, there was still no official word on the president's condition from authorities at Dallas Parkland Memorial Hospital. However, Senator Ralph Yarborough of Texas, who was riding 3 cars behind the president in the Dallas motorcade, gave reporters a description of what he saw as the president was shot and as his car followed the presidential limousine from downtown Dallas to the hospital. Senator Yarborough told newsmen that he heard 3 shots. He did not see where they came from, but he thought he heard 3. He said he then saw a Secret Service man beating his fist on the president's limousine. Senator Yarborough told newsmen it was too horrible to describe, but he did tell reporters that both Governor Connolly and the president were gravely injured. He said that the president appeared to have been shot in the head. Senator Yarborough, as we say, was 3 cars back from the president's car. He said his limousine followed to the hospital. He only saw the attendants at the hospital carrying the president into the hospital. Thus far, no report outside Parkland Memorial Hospital in Dallas, Texas. One further report has come into our news headquarters here in New York by the Associated Press, reporting the Secret Service is saying that the president remains in the emergency room and that the governor has been moved to the general operating room at Parkland Hospital.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, we had to send him away. We're trying to have Dave... Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States is dead.